Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the hottest Nordic innovations and ventures. In this episode, our venture date is with WellO2, breathing training for health and performance.
Okay, so we all breathe, right? It's like automatic. We don't even think about it. But,
Yeah.
Have you ever stopped and considered how much your breathing actually impacts everything else that's going on? Like
Yeah.
how well you sleep or how much energy you have when you work out
Yeah.
or even like the sound of your voice. I mean,
Totally.
that's kind of where this whole WellO2 thing comes in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And what you were telling me about it before, it's, I think it's really interesting that it's kind of a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah.
just one thing. It uses both like steam inhalation and resistance training for your breathing. So it's almost like
Okay.
it's clearing the path and then strengthening the muscles at the same time.
So it's more than just
Yeah.
okay, just take a deep breath.
Right. Exactly.
There's something else going on here.
Absolutely.
So I was on their website and they really emphasize this combination thing.
Yeah.
And they explained that the steam part that's designed to help loosen and clear stuff out of your airways, mucus, pollen, dusts,
All the dunk.
all that stuff we're breathing in all the time.
Too much. Yeah.
And then the resistance training part, that's actually supposed to make your breathing muscles stronger.
Yeah.
Like if you were lifting weights.
Exactly. It's like a workout for your lungs.
Yeah. So they say you only need to do 5 minutes a day,
Wow.
which seems pretty doable. And they also say they have over 150,000 users
Oh, wow.
all over the world.
Yeah. That's a lot of people.
It seems like something's working.
Yeah, it definitely seems like people are seeing results.
So I think this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
When you start to look at who is actually using WellO. It's not just one type of person.
Right.
They have all these different people on their website.
Yeah.
They have sections for people who have breathing problems in general and people who are sensitive to air pollution or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you see these high-level athletes.
Right.
Like Krista Permakoski, who's a Finnish cross-country skier.
Oh, wow.
And she uses it preventatively, especially during flu season.
Interesting.
And then there are these professional singers
Oh, really?
like Bernie Shaw from Uriah Heep.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, and Marco Hiedala.
Oh, cool.
So what do you think that tells us about this thing?
Well, I think it's really interesting that you have all these different people using it for completely different reasons. You've got Krista Permakoski, who's using it to stay healthy during cold and flu season, which kind of speaks to that whole airway clearing potential that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And then you've got these singers like Bernie Shaw and Marco Hietala.
Yeah.
And they're using it to combat voice dryness and strengthen their vocal cords.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how much can you actually influence those really specific physical functions just by breathing in a certain way?
And it's not just those super high-level performers.
Right.
They also have everyday people giving their testimonials.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Heidi S., she said it made it easier for her to breathe when she was running.
Wow.
And she recommends it for anyone with breathing problems or even just families in general.
Interesting.
And then there's Jerry A., and he said that he had a 20% improvement
Wow.
in his breathing strength and capacity
Yeah.
after using it for a few months.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that kind of measurable result is pretty convincing.
Yeah, you can't argue with numbers like that.
Right. And then there's Arnja V., and she talks about sleeping better and feeling more refreshed. And she also said it helped with her throat clearing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then Maria Huntington, she's a former heptathlete.
Wow.
So she's a serious athlete.
Yeah, for sure.
And she said that she used it during competitions.
Really?
And it helped her to perform better, but then she also used it in the evenings
It's interesting.
to relax and unwind.
That's cool.
And she said it even helped with her cold symptoms.
So it's like a multi-purpose tool almost?
Yeah. And then we have Miko M. He's a trombone and tuba player.
Wow, what a combination.
Yeah. And he describes how it helps to open up his airways and relax the muscles that he needs to play his instruments. And he said it helps him to engage his intercostal muscles
Wow.
and deepen his breathing, which all directly improves the sound he gets.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And then there's Oscari V.
Okay.
And he uses it for mild sleep apnea and just general relaxation.
Uh-huh.
And he noticed that his sleep quality was better and it helped to moisturize his airways,
Okay.
which I guess makes sense because dry air can make breathing problems worse.
For sure.
And then there's this guy, Richard Collins.
Okay.
He's the director of performance at West Ham United.
Wow.
That's a pretty major football club.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're actually using WellO2 for their players who have like minor respiratory issues. Yeah, to help clear their airways and like speed up their recovery, especially during the winter.
Interesting.
And they're even looking into using a smart mouthpiece to like track data and stuff.
Wow, so they're taking it pretty seriously.
Yeah, it sounds like they're seeing some real benefits.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got like a professional sports organization using something like that, it kind of lends some credibility to the whole thing.
Exactly. And then there's this woman, Mervi Poulan.
Okay.
And she's from the Organization for Respiratory Health in Finland.
Uh-huh.
And she said that their members who have used WellO have given them really positive feedback.
That's great.
Yeah. And she also talked about their commercial cooperation with WellO.
Okay.
And the scientific research that's been done.
Interesting.
It seems like there's a connection between these personal stories and like the more formal research that's being done.
Exactly. It's not just anecdotal evidence. There's actually science to back it up.
Okay, so let's talk about the research.
Yeah, let's dive in.
So they have a whole clinical studies section on their website.
That's always a good sign.
Right. It shows that they're taking it seriously.
Exactly.
So they list a bunch of studies that have already been completed, including one from 2023 by Kronen Heinijoki and Sovi Järvi. And that one looked at the effects of WellO2 on lung function in people with stable asthma.
Interesting.
So they were using like this low workload respiratory training combined with steam inhalation.
So they were specifically looking at people with asthma. Yeah. That's really important because it shows that they're trying to see if WellO2 can be helpful for people with specific conditions.
Right. And then there's this study from 2021 by Wenning.
Okay.
And he was at Jyväskylä University. And he studied the effects of WellO2 on respiratory muscle power, endurance performance, and like how difficult the exercises felt to male endurance athletes.
So that one's really focusing on the athletic performance side of things?
Exactly. And it looks like there's a bunch more research in the pipeline.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Huttunen and Rantala did a pilot study in 2021 looking at how WellO2 affects vocal tract humidification and respiratory muscle training in women with voice problems.
Interesting.
And Ailan and Valtonen also looked at respiratory parameters and performance in endurance athletes in the same year.
Okay.
And both of those are like publication pending.
So that means the research has been done and they're just waiting for it to be officially published.
So we don't have all the details yet.
Right.
But it's interesting that they're looking into those areas.
Exactly. And then there's this study from 2022 by Renanen, and he was comparing WellO2 to another device that's used to measure respiratory pressure.
So they're trying to see if WellO2 is a reliable tool.
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting. And then there's a 2022 study by Macaulay.
Okay.
And she looked at the effects of WellO2 on respiratory muscle power and aerobic performance in healthy, physically active people.
So they're branching out, looking at different populations.
And there's even a study that's still going on at Turku University, and it's being led by Alra Mahi.
Okay.
And they're looking at the effects of upper respiratory muscle strength training on sleep apnea.
Interesting.
And they're expecting the results to be in by the fourth quarter of 2024.
Okay, so we'll have to wait a little while for that one.
Yeah, but they do say that initial results are available.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, but we don't have any details here.
But it's promising that they're doing research on sleep apnea.
Yeah, it's a problem for a lot of people.
For sure.
And the WellO2 website actually have a link to Google Scholar.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can go and look at all the research yourself.
That's a great resource for people who want to do their own digging.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a lot of research going on.
Yeah. And a lot of different angles they're looking at.
Exactly.
So I guess the question is, like, what does all this mean? What are the main takeaways here?
Well, I think the main themes that we're seeing are easing breathing, clearing the airways, strengthening the respiratory muscles, and all sorts of benefits like athletic performance, vocal health, sleep quality, even managing respiratory symptoms.
Yeah.
And these claims are backed up by both personal stories and scientific research.
Right. And I guess it's important to remember that everything we're talking about here is based on what the company says and the research they're referencing.
Exactly. We're just presenting the information.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into WellO2, it kind of makes you think about breathing in a whole new way.
Yeah.
Like it's something we do all the time.
Right.
But we don't really think about it.
Yeah.
So what if we did?
What if we were more intentional about it?
Yeah, and considering that it affects so many things.
Right.
Physical activity, sleep, even singing.
Yeah.
Could training our breathing be like...
Could it be the key?
Yeah, like a missing piece?
It's a really interesting question.
It is.
And with all these potential benefits like easing cold symptoms, improving sleep quality, even enhancing athletic performance,
Yeah.
what aspect of your own breathing or well-being makes you curious?
Yeah. What would you want to explore further?
It's definitely something to think about.
Definitely. And if you're interested in learning more,
Yeah.
we encourage you to check out the WellO2 website.
Absolutely.
And look at the research they're linking to.
Yeah, make your own informed decisions.
So until our next deep dive,
Yeah.
take a deep breath and consider its power.
I like that.
Okay, see.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.